Hi, everyone. Welcome back. If you are coming back to our mySewnet Facebook Live workshop right now, if you joined us yesterday, thank you. If not, welcome to our day 2 of our workshop. Today, we call this workshop Just Beyond because we're kind of going a little bit deeper into a few different things. Yesterday, we worked with lettering, and we worked with some different things like that. And today we're actually going to work with stitch editing. So for anyone I see, hi Glenda from Iowa, you were back again, appreciate it. So guys, tell us where you're from. Tell us what kind of software you have. I kind of try to keep an eye on that so I know what you are working with, so I can try to give some good advice as we're going through. For anyone who wasn't here yesterday, my name is Soni Grint, and I am thrilled to be here with you guys. I see we've got some platinum, and we've got a couple other things coming through. So again, just let us know. It just helps us to know a little bit. Today, what I'm going to talk about is, again, we're going to talk about stitch editing. And that's, a lot of people, I won't say a lot. I mean, some people believe like when you change a color or you add some stuff together, that is editing. And it is in a way. You're customizing things. You're doing things to change. So it really is a form of editing. But hi, everybody. But for me, when you talk about editing, I'm talking about stitch editing. And what that means is like cutting something apart, like on my blouse here, right? So, and this is really weird. And I know when you see us on lives, we always are doing it because everything looks backwards to us, right? But like for this other side, for this, like I cut this little flower out of a bigger design to put on my shirt, those sorts of things. That's what I will really talk about when we talk about stitch editing. So stitch editing for everyone. I see California, and I see Michigan, and I see all sorts of different places. So welcome. So when we talk about that really starts in our mySewnet software. The stitch editing starts in the gold level. Now, for those of you who have silver or have an older version, some of you may have extra or ultra, similar sort of thing. For those with mySewnet, gold and platinum have stitch editing capabilities, all right? So that's kind of what I'm going to be working with today. If you don't, and by the way, I don't want to forget this. Hi, Kathy. I don't want to forget this. I don't want to forget to remind you, I have 2 great helpers with me today. They're going to be answering questions and giving me questions in the chat if need be. So if you have questions in the chat, just type them in and I'll get those questions. Meredith and Amy are both helping me today, so I appreciate that so much. Also, remember, I just started to say about gold and platinum in the mySewnet software. Those are the ones that have stitch editing capabilities. For those of you who have either Premier Plus or Premier Plus 2, if you have the Ultra, you have a lot of this. If you have the Extra, you have some of this that we're going to talk about today. So that's kind of where we are. If you are a silver owner or a previous version, someone yesterday was using 4D software. I noticed that at the end of the day. And, our software really has changed a lot. We now have a 30-day free trial of platinum. If you're not quite sure about the software, you want to check it out, you have a different older version, go ahead, and what Meredith and Amy have done for us is in the link or in the main pinned information, they actually have put a link. So if it's something that you guys are looking for, make sure that you go in there, and it is in the pinned comment. Thank you, Meredith. I appreciate that. So in the pinned comment, there is a link to the 30-day free trial. So if it's something you want to mess around with and try, that's a great way to do that. Okay, so that's a great, and I'll try to remember, Ava, to say, if Premiere Plus 2 has what I'm doing, I'll try to remember. I can't guarantee it, but I will certainly try to keep that in my mind as we're going through. All right, so that's our day today, our hour. Kind of like yesterday, I have a feeling we're going to have lots of stuff going on. So let's see. I'll try and get through as much as I can. So the first thing we want to do, I am going to, and my team is so great, Meredith and Amy, thank you. They're already got me in the software here. The first thing that I am going to do is I do want to talk about cutting pieces away from a design and give you some tips about this. So I am going to ask you guys, if you would just please go back to the big screen for just a minute, because what I want to share and show you, this is what I mean by stitch editing. So this is what I mean by stitch editing. Some of you have maybe who have taken classes from me before, you maybe have seen this, but this little design here with, I call it a little shield behind it, but it's got my little sailboat. It's got 3 waves and it's got land and sea and all that sort of stuff. That's the original design. My edited design is only the sailboat and the little waves here, right? So the little waves right here, there's only 1 wave. That is stitch editing. It's taking away parts here and making something new here. So that is something that I think it's really important that you realize what we're doing. Again, it's not changing a color. It's not adding some pieces together. It's actually taking things away. This little blouse, and I'm a little embarrassed, yesterday and today, I ironed everything except this one blouse. So it's really wrinkled. Sorry about that, guys. But what I want to share with you and why I think it's so important, do you all see that design right there? That was the original design that I used to start this little blouse. Well, then what I did is I took away, can you see how I took away and edited out some of the flowers on the second design. And then on the third design down here at the bottom, I took away all the flowers and leaves. So original, and then the 2 edited pieces, that's stitch editing. Okay, so now let's go back, guys. Thank you for jumping back with that for me. So let's start and let's get some tips about this because I think it's really important. I'm going to go ahead and insert a design. This is actually within the Premiere, excuse me, it's within the mySewnet software. It is also in the Premiere Plus 2. It just may be in a different spot. I'm going to grab this little design that's called 3 flowers. And when I open that up, what you're going to see, at least what I think, there's a lot going on with this design. There's a whole bunch going on. And all I really want in this design is actually the middle flower and this top part. So this top part of the green leaves. So the middle flower and the top part of the green leaves. There's also, look at all of these on the right-hand side. You can see all of these thread changes. There's so much going on. It's a beautiful design, but goodness gracious, I don't want that much. That's not really, let's say, my style. So what we're going to do is the first thing I want to see is how is this design going to stitch? And so if you're taking any notes, the first thing you want to do is you want to play the design. All right, so you want to play the design. So I'm going up to my design player and let's see what stitches first. Okay. And when I start doing this, y'all are seeing right now, this background area is truly what is going to stitch first. Now I paused for just a moment because you can see kind of back here, you can kind of guess that that's going to stitch first, right? But also your color selection gives you that clue as well. So you got a couple different ways to check this out. I don't want that back there. That's something that I do not want. I just want to have the flower. I don't want this background image or the background stitches. I think, you know, they think it looks pretty. I personally, I just think it's too much. So let us now go to, I'm going into the modified tab. Some of you, it may have been called the edit tab, but what this is doing is going into a stitch editing area. So it's going into a stitch editing area. Can you all see that now we're working in 2D versus the 3D? 3D is when it really does look like stitches. That's the home tab. But now when I go into that modified tab, it takes it down and it flattens it is what I'm going to call it. So it flattens it. This is now the question. And you guys were so great yesterday. So it's like, so now what is, how do we get rid of only this? So if I want to get rid of only that, how do I do it? And I want you to think a minute. If you have any thoughts, go ahead and type it in. There are many different ways, and so there are a few different ways to do this. What I'm going to do is because I'm working in the modified tab, I want you to kind of check this out, everyone. I'm going to take the check away from this blue area. Okay, so that light blue stuff in the background. Right click, Leona, you're going to see something with that in just a minute. So I'm going to take a check away from that blue area and I just hid that. So I hid the blue, that little blue background area. Check this out. Let's now I'm going to select everything that's visible on the screen. I'm going to select everything that's visible on the screen. And then I'm going to cut it away. You may think this is counterintuitive, but check this out. When I cut it, I want you all to look down here on the clipboard. This is a fast, easy way to do this. So I'm going to select everything visible, and then I'm going to cut it. Look at that. It's right there on my little clipboard. So I've still got it in the proper spot. So I still have it somewhere. It's like it's in a little holding pattern on that clipboard. Now select all visible. And now I'm going to delete that part of it. So it looks like there's nothing, but guess what? Remember, you've got this on the clipboard. So when I paste it, that comes back, the blue is away. So if you ever have something that, like, I could have went through and I could have taken checks away from every single one of these, 44 different color bars here. I could have just taken the check away from all of those, still had the blue, and then deleted it and then brought that back. But guess what? This clipboard, y'all realize, right? How many of you did realize, you say yes if you did, that clipboard, when you cut it, acts like a little holding area. Isn't that cool? I think that's so cool. I'm waiting for someone to agree with me. So someone, it can be anyone, just agree with me and say yes on the comments. I'm kidding. A little bit, I'm kidding. But I want you to make sure you see that, because wasn't that easy, right? Thank you. Now I got a lot of yeses, right? So Leona, it really is truly just, you've got to think about this as a little bitty place to hold on to stuff. And I think this is really, really cool. Easy way, put that on the clipboard, and then when you paste it, it comes back. So just right there, super easy. So the next thing I want to do is I want to get rid of the side flowers. Okay. All right. I see someone would have unchecked all the other colors. Yes, I started to do that and I'm like, wow, that's way too hard. Now, some people would go into either the modify or in a different place. That's fine too. You can certainly do that. This is in the more base, the middle level. So this is in the gold level. If you have platinum, you certainly in platinum can do it a different way. So it really is, up to you on how you want to do it. So, okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to get rid of just the flowers first. To get rid of the flowers, probably the easiest thing, again, I'm just going to take the check away from the green area, okay? The green area. So with the green area, and Marilyn, I see your love a deselect all. You really have that option either in the, basically it's in the next version up. So I'll talk about that in a moment. That is a really good comment. So I will talk about that in a moment. So once I have these flowers only, I am going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit, make it a little bit easier for me to see. Okay, so a little bit easier for me to see. And I am a huge point select person. Okay, so I'm a huge point select person. The reason why I'm a huge point select person is I'm not a great drawer. Okay, so I don't draw super steady with a mouse. So what point select allows me to do is I'm just going to do points, right? And if by chance I get a little crazy, right, and I put a point where I don't want it to be, I don't actually have to restart. I can just come here and move the points that I need to move. So see that? So that's why I like point select. Is point select allows me again to come in here, move whatever point I have misplaced basically, and then you're in the right spot. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a right click. I'm not going to completely end the tool. When I right click here, I'm just going to either hit delete up here, delete on the keyboard. It took away that flower. Okay, so it took away that flower. Let's do the same thing for the other flower. So my tool is still active. I'm going to come around here. All right, and again, if you make that mistake, you can always come back in and move those points. And then I'm going to delete again on the keyboard or basically wherever I want it to be. And I don't know if it's Adeline or Adeline. I'm sorry. Is it possible to select by color? The answer is yes. The difference is the answer is yes if you're in the platinum or if you're in the ultra. So if you're in that top program. In the gold, you do not have that option to select by color in the gold. So good question. So I know you guys see I've got this little extraneous stitch out here, okay? The dotted lines are definitely jump stitches, but this is just along, and there is a little stitch out here that our machines would come to this area, it'd take one stitch out, and then it would jump back. We don't want that, right? We don't want that. So now I'm going to go up and choose Select Stitches. Click on that little piece, and I've got a box around it. It's selecting the one stitch, okay, one stitch. And then I'm just going to move that right into that area where the other stitches are. And look how that went away. So anytime you have all those extra things that are hanging out, you can certainly select one stitch and move those in. And that's what I suggest. You're going to get a much nicer, okay, so it's going to be a much nicer stitch out if you take the time to do that. Okay, so take that time to do that. All right. So now that was the hard part, right? Now all we've got to do is get rid of some of this green. everybody, this is actually, let's get rid of the light green first. Okay, so let's get rid of the light green first. Going to take away the dark green. There's no light green up here in this area, so I don't have to worry about that this time. I do like to use a lot of different tools. The box select I can use this time. The reason is because I don't have to go around or in any curves or anything like that, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and take that out. Notice how all the light green now is selected. Okay, so all the light green now is selected. And then I'm just going to delete all the light green. And then all we have left is the dark green. So it makes it easy, right? Now, Robin, I see you asked, when does the clipboard show the changes? The only time we have anything on the clipboard is if I actually copy and paste it, or if I cut or duplicate. So I have to put something on the clipboard if it's going to show, if it's going to show anything on this clipboard. The overview, however, good question. The overview actually does show what's going on a little bit. So if you're in the clipboard, it's whatever you've copied or pasted. The overview will show you changes as you're making it. So that this is a little dual kind of preview with the overview, but the clipboard is whatever I've pasted on there. So good question for that. All right, guys. So we have one more little bit here that I want to share with you as far as cutting this apart. How do I know? Let's go back to the home area. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the home area. At this point, how do I know that what's the next piece, right? How's it going to stitch? Where do I need to make a change, or where do I need to cut, or anything like that? Any thoughts on that, everybody? Any thoughts on that? The reason why I'm asking is this is going back to, let's see how the design stitches now that we've taken stuff away, okay? So I'm going to go back to that design player. And with the design player, here we go. With the design player, I'm just going to play. I think you can see that. You know where that is, but I noticed my picture was there. So when I start playing, let's look and see how this stitches, right? So it's actually stitching the two little pieces up here. Then it's coming down. And these are the parts that I actually do want to save, are those two little, and then I'm going to pause. So those two little leaves and then the bottom part of the flower, right? Yep, Anna, perfect. Use the design player. You're exactly right. So now, once I have these, I know where it's going to stitch, what's going to happen, and then the rest of the stuff, if we just do it really fast. Let's play again. I'm just going to speed it up a lot. Everything else comes in afterwards, right? So at this point, let's get back into that modify. So I'm back here. Now it's kind of these two pieces up here. For me, it's kind of a free-for-all at this point because I can go in and I can point select around this. You guys, you've learned very quickly how much I like that point select. I'm going to make sure I've got that taken care of there. So that's all there. So I've got all that taken. I'm just going to delete those pieces. Remember, we're going to deal with these sorts of things at the very end. So we're going to deal with those jump stitches at the very end. Now, check this out, right? I'm going to start. This was the very first thing after those two little pieces. This was the very first thing that was actually being stitched. Remember? You're with me on that. So these were the first things. This little draw stitches. This is very important for you when you are working in stitch editing functions. I'm going to take and check out what happens. I'm basically hiding and hiding. It's still there, but I'm just hiding these. I've still got that little bit. I have to draw it. All I'm doing, check it out, I'm just drawing from the end, which is what stitches last, to the left to what stitches first. All right. And now I'm pretty close. Let me zoom in so you can see what's going on here. Look right down here. Look right down here at the bottom of my stem. See how I'm just adding the little bitty bits of stitches back in. It does a little tie off. And then that's going to the next piece. Y'all with me on this? So that's going to the next piece. So I want to get rid of that. This is what I want to keep, right? This is what I want to keep. I hope I did that right. There are about 3 different ways to do this. This is what I want to keep though. And I want to get rid of the other pieces. I can do this. Robin, to your question earlier, when I select everything that's visible on the screen at that point here, guess what? Check out what happens on the clipboard now, because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut that out. That's now on the clipboard. See how it made that change. Now I can come in and I can box select all the rest of that dark green, delete it, and then paste what's on the clipboard, and it comes back perfectly. So again, the clipboard is whatever I paste or I cut, which I think is really important. And then let's select this guy. I'm going to move that back up into where that jump was. And when I go home, now I have just the part of the design that I want. Yay. If I get so excited about this, you guys can tell, but that is stitch editing, right? That's so cool. And it really, really allows you to take a design that maybe you have and you're like, yeah, I like most of it, but I don't like all of the design. What a great way to be able to make that change, which I think is really, really neat. So you kind of, again, really important, you kind of like, you hide and you look and you say, do I like this? Do I not like this? What do I want? So it is a process, but once you get done, it's like, yeah, that's really cool. And Ava, yes, at this point, I have my flower here. I can go up to File and I can save this, and I'm going to save this as, so I'm going to save it as, you're going to see my little Facebook workshop area, and I'm going to say single flower and save it in whatever, basically, this is going to save as a VP4 format. So if I want to go back and mess around with it later, I can do that. If I'm ready, if I know that I'm ready to stitch this out, I can either, for my mySewnet enabled machines, which is really that what I tend to do is I just send it to my machine. So I think that's just really great. Or you can certainly export and then save it as the file format. Everything's a little bit slower here today. Sorry, guys. You would save it as the file format for your machine. So whatever your machine is, that's what you would export it as. All right. So any questions? Patricia, I see when I use the slider bars or slider button, you can copy things to the clipboard, or you can, like a couple different times what I did, and I'm just going to, let's see. Oh, it always happens this way. So one of the other things you can do, instead of copying it to the clipboard, I could slide and select everything and then copy to the clipboard. So really it's kind of up to you. Okay, so it's kind of up to you what you want to do and how you do want to edit that. All right. So ladies, if I can bring us back here to me for a moment, rather than my computer, as my computer is saying, oh gosh, Soni, you're working me too hard right now. I'm going to try and do a quick little, there we go. It finally came back, honestly. So, but basically, yay. I was so happy that I didn't have to, it's still there. That's okay, guys. So any other questions about that before I move on? Do you get the idea about, you kind of take pieces as you go until you get the final thing. And again, using that slider bar is really to help you so you can, like if I go back to modify here, and so if I go back to modify now, let's say I don't want the flowers. I don't want the flower. Honestly, I can take the flower away by using the sliders, right? And I can take the flower away and then copy and do different things like that. So it's just however you want to do that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my file, get a new window, and a couple of you, hopefully my new window will come up here without too many problems. I have to say, sometimes just like I think sometimes with you guys, computers do things that really, don't do what you expect them to. It just happens that way. So, Marilyn, I'm going to a different page at this point because I'm really going to change what I'm doing. So that's why. And Leona, you asked about before saving, once you combine all the threads. Honestly, in the mySewnet software, as well as the Premiere Plus 2, you don't need to do that because in the settings, I have it set that it's going to combine automatically for me. So as long as you have that in your settings, you don't have to worry about combining before you save. So again, good question. All right. So really good question. And again, I'm working in the gold software right now. But what I did want to show in that whole question that you guys kind of had for me about the difference, Marilyn asked a couple of questions. The question about the single choosing by color. If I bring in that same exact design that we had, not the single flower, but, well, now you see all of my, I'm going to try and make this very quick. I'm going to come back and find that same design here. Just open it up here again. If I go into the editing function, right? So if I go into the editing function, that is in the platinum, or that's in the ultra. That's in the top of the line software. Why I wanted to just share this very quickly, because we did have a couple really good questions, is like here, I can actually jump and go color by color a lot quicker in the main program. And notice how this deselected everything, and I'm now going color by color, which I think is really wonderful. And you can see how things are a little bit easier to work with in the Stitch Editor program. The other thing that I think is really cool is if I take the check away from that back portion, there is a function that says invert visible color blocks. What that means is it will take whatever I had selected and switch it around. So again, lots of, there are certainly more functions within this area. And if you look here, there is a color block select. So you have a few more options in the Platinum Ultra, you know, in the top of the line program. So if that is something that you want to do a lot of, you know, that again, that is something that you might want to think about, that top of the line program for that. So, all right. So now I'm going to delete that. I want to share that reverse color block, Suzanne. It was at the very bottom, and it looks like a little yin and yang almost. There's one color on one side and one color, so it's at the very bottom is where that reverse color block is. So, and that is in, excuse me, that is in the edit or stitch editor portion of this. It is not in the modify tab in gold. It is in that top of the line portion. All right. So I want to share with you guys I'm going to do something again really quickly. Our timing is always a little bit short. I always feel like we could just be here forever, right? So what I want to do is I want to talk about color, adding color blocks. Okay, so color changes within a design. All right. And with adding color changes within a design, I'm going to show you. Okay, let's do this first. Okay, I'm going to grab. I'm going to come in here. And I want to share with you this particular design. I love this design. It is absolutely beautiful. It is one that is now, I had this a while ago. It is now in the mySewnet library. If you guys are looking for this particular design, if you type in Art Deco in the mySewnet library, so Art Deco in the mySewnet library, this will come up. And it is like I said, it's a beautiful design. What I want you to notice is, it's a two-color design, right? It's a two-color design. It has the yellow and then it has the green around the outside edge. Well, I fell in love with this design, and if I can come back to me for just a minute, guys, I made a little shift dress, this little dress. Look at the colors on this dress, right? What I realized is, as much as I love that design, I wanted it to have more colors within it to go on the jacket that goes with my dress. So see what I did here is I added more color changes. Okay, so I added color changes so that instead of 3 or instead of 2 colors and the flowers being all the same size, or all the same color, excuse me, now I have more colors to go with my dress. And it was part of a collection, Karen. I don't know the collection, but Meredith and Amy just put up the actual design link to mySewnet library as well. So let's now go back to our software here. And when we look at this, we would either on our machines, okay, so on our machines, we'd have to watch very carefully and stop and change and stop and change, or in our embroidery software, which I think is just wonderful, okay, we can put in a color stop. But you have to kind of know how color stops work and where to place them, okay, so where to place them. So I think, Karen, I want to say it was called Art Deco, but I'm sorry. We'll see if we can find that and put it in the information for you as far as the collections go. All right. So let's see if we can find that for you. I really don't know it straight away, but we will look for that. So when you look at this design, okay, when I look at this design, I know somehow I have to get a color stop here and another color stop here to make this all work. So let's go back to modify. Okay, so let's go back to modify. And when I'm in modify, the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to hide that kind of green color. And we're going to go ahead and zoom in and look. And my color stop, I like to put in a color step. So again, a couple little different things here with the color stops, right? With the color stops, I like to have change my thread color on my machine before I move to the next one, because I like to have a little longer tail. Some people, so that means I'm going to put in my color change here. So it'll stop here, tell me to change color, and then I'll have a longer tail to move to this next piece. Some people like to finish and move and then put in the color stop. Honestly, everybody, it does not matter. The important thing is you know that you need to put in the color change in this area, and you're going to see what I mean here in just a moment, okay? Going to see here in just a moment. So remember, let me zoom out again. Remember our draw stitches. This is repeating kind of the same thing here. So remember the draw stitches. I'm going to draw stitches from the end. And it's actually drawing in the green right now. So there we go. And I hid the green. See what's going on? So I need to make sure. And I want to get kind of close if possible. I'm not doing the greatest thing here. Okay. Now let's zoom back in. You're going to see how it's just putting in those stitches. Check this out at the very end, and I don't know if I can zoom any further. I was just talking a little bit with Meredith and with Amy beforehand. I'm afraid I've been doing this for a very long time. And when I say that, there's a little tie off right here. Do you see how kind of it's making just little bitty stitches right here at the end before it makes that jump stitch to the next area? The reason why I wanted to really kind of show you that is I want that tie off to be in my original color, and then the jump stitch I want to change to my next color. So that's why I let it do that little tie off and then jump to here. Is that kind of making sense, guys? Kind of making sense? Because I want it to tie. I wish I'm pointing at my screen right now, but I want it to tie off here with this yellow color or whatever color it is, and then jump to the next piece. I'm going to choose Insert Color Command, and I'm going to click on that next piece. It's going to now say, let's choose another color. I'm going to choose a random color that you can see. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do that. I'm going to come back here. And when I click Home, notice that the next two, and also notice again, I got that jump stitch, right? Got this jump stitch. I told you I was going to do that. I wanted to have that, so I have a longer, it's going to jump stitch over here. And now these two parts of the flower are now the next, are basically, those are that was that next color block. You guys, hopefully it makes sense, because whatever came after that color change is now, or basically are now these two flowers. So what I now need to do is I need to make another color change. And where do you think? How many of you think that I'm going to put it down here at the end of flower 2? Or do you think I'm going to put it at the beginning of flower 3? What do you think? End of flower 2 or beginning of flower 3? Okay. I know you guys are typing, so I get that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. We're going to go back to modify. And I am going to do the tie off of number 2. You're exactly right. End of 2. You guys, thank you for listening so much. I appreciate it. So what we're going to do is we are going to, I hid the green. Okay, I hid the green. And so some of you said at the beginning of 3, and that's fine. If that is what you choose, I still am one to let that last little tie off happen. So I'm just going to let this little tie off happen here. It's going to jump here really quick. And I went a little too far. There we go. So I let that tie off happen. And then I'm going to place my color command here. Again, it is up to you. You can change it. You can put it beginning of flower 3. That is fine. I like to put it at the end because I like that little bit longer tail. And now, when I come home here, now, of course, those aren't the colors that I used, right? Again, up to you. It does not matter as long as you know this is going to give me a little less. Again, it just depends on where you want it to be. It's fine. But in some of you, you may try it a couple different times like this, and you may go, okay, well, I don't like it there. I want to put it the other place. That is fine. You just have to be consistent, and you have to kind of realize where and how the color changes are working, right? So where and how the color changes are working. So I think that's really important. So now let's play this. And so there's our color 1, color 2, color 3. And now the rest of the flower. I just think this is such a beautiful, beautiful design. It's very, very interesting. So it is just a lot of really great interest. And just because, okay, I'm going to have you guys come back to the jacket for just a minute. Me and the jacket. Because, again, at the bottom, I went all the way around, right, with this particular flower design. I went all the way around the back of the jacket. But then on the lapel and on the collar, I used my, I basically used my editing that we talked about earlier and cut apart the design. So those are just pieces, right, of the design. So I cut apart the design to add that, right? So to add that to the collar where I'm not going to use that whole big part of the design, right? So that's where we're using the color changes. We're using the stitch editing all together to make this basically make it a more interesting that way. Now, a couple questions. Linda, you asked, when would jump stitches be eliminated if it was put at the start? Yes, the thread, I guess the thread would be. So to your point, if you put it at the start of the design rather than the end of the previous one, basically the machine has to move there. And then when you get started, you would have that tail. I do like to change it there because when it moves, it for me, it just makes it feel better. I don't know. It's up to you, Linda, how you would want to do that. And that's, Julie, what I mean is it gives me a longer tail. When I change it here, when the machine moves, the thread moves with it. So that's why there's a little bit longer tail there. It doesn't tie off. It's just easier for me to hold. Personal preference, really personal preference. You either need to put it at the end or the beginning. It really is up to you. But that's what that means. And so, Linda, there's still going to be the movement stitch. You wouldn't have that thread trailing along. So if that's what you would want, that's great. Again, there's always more than one way to do this. And this one, I think it just has to do, the question was, why isn't the one jump stitch showing? Thanks for jumping back so much. Maybe because I put this in a wrong spot, Bonnie, is that maybe I actually needed to put this a little bit further up so you wouldn't see it. It's just gonna, I'm not worried actually about that. I might have put it a little bit on the tie off versus otherwise. So yeah. So anyway, don't I have the jump stitch trim engaged, and I'm using the tail to hold the thread before cutting. It depends on my machine. And Julie just asked about if I have the jump stitch trim engaged or not. It does depend a little bit on what I'm doing and what thread I'm using a little bit, Julie. So you're right. If it takes that stitch and cuts the thread and then moves, it could be a little bit longer stitch. So it I'm thinking, can you all see that I look up to the right when I'm thinking? So we might have to, you may have to come back and tell me what you think is better, because I think, again, it could be either way. I'm so used to putting it there, but I've been doing this a while, remember? So maybe with the newer machines, we don't need to put it at the end. We can put it at the beginning. I don't want to confuse you. Don't get me wrong. You can place it either place, all right? So you can place it either place. All right, great questions. I want to go ahead and move on to one other thing. I think we have time. We have about 10 minutes here. And what I want to do is I want to kind of put a little bit about what we talked about yesterday. And if you weren't here yesterday, that's okay. And we're going to use a super design and do a little stitch editing on a super design. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to go into File, get a blank canvas here, do a little bit smaller hoop, a 150 by 150 hoop for this. And then I am going to go into the super designs. Everyone, if you are not delving into super designs, I really, really recommend you do, because this really is where you have so many beautiful, wonderful designs included, especially now in the mySewnet software. The mySewnet software has over 2,000 super designs. Pretty crazy how many are in there. And you also have the option on many of them, like the little monsters here. I don't know if you realize when I click the monsters, if you go to select style, you can either have a color monster or you can have a little line monster. Do y'all realize that can happen for you? I think they're hilarious. And I do. I love super designs, and they are, the fairies are beautiful, and the fantasy. There are so many great ones. Today, I'm actually going to choose a corner real quick. And I'm also going to choose the size, and I'm going to make the size really, really big. Oh, and I made it so big that I chose the incorrect hoop. Let's change that hoop. All right, so there we go. So with this design, everybody, what I want to do is I want to make this a border versus a corner. Okay, so I want to make this a border versus a corner. Again, there are different ways of doing this. What I want to do, now notice, I chose the size first with a super design. I wanted to make sure that I had it the appropriate size before I make changes and actually stitch edit. Because in stitch editing, everybody, in stitch editing, we're going to fix the size of our super design. So then if I want to change size, it's not going to look quite as nice. So get the size of whatever you want to edit first. Okay, so that's, again, a little note. Always do that first, please, because that way, and if you have to go back and play around a little bit, I like to go back to the beginning, get my size first, and then move on. And so then I'm going to move on. So once I have this design set in the proper size, I am going to modify. And it even tells you, the program does tell you it's gonna fix my design as embroidery stitches, and I'm gonna say okay. All right. So what I want to do is to make this border, I'm going to have just this part and this part. So the light blue squares, open squares, the light blue open squares, and then the small blue corner squares. We're going to keep that area and we're going to get rid of this up here. So to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the light blue. Hide the light. I'm going to box select down here all the way to the bottom. And I'm going to delete that. And then you guys have figured this out. So I'm just going to box select that. I'm going to delete that as well. Those extra stitches. We're going to take one of those and we're going to move that. Now I'm going to move it down here for a moment because looky here, you can see, wow, I can't believe I just said looky here. Look here, and you can see that this, actually I want to bring it down to where that dark blue is down there. And this one, I want to bring back down to where the light blue is. And you can see there is a jump stitch there. So I want to bring them close together for this. All right, everyone. This is what we've got so far. We've got this so far. Now let's think about this. I'm going to go back to modify. So I want you to think about this with me. How are we going to only select this little blue area down here? How do you think we're only the dark blue corners? How should we select only the dark blue corners? We've been doing it all day. I know you know this. All right, I know you know this. I'm going to actually, this time, I'm going to hide the light blue. I'm going to select the dark blue. Okay, so select the dark blue. And this time, instead of cutting and putting it on the clipboard, I'm going to, you guys have got it, right? Uncheck the blue, uncheck the light blue. We've selected this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and point select is another way. You know, you guys, you got this. I'm going to duplicate. In this case, I like to duplicate because what duplicate does is it actually, what it did is it put a copy down here on the clipboard. Did I duplicate or did I paste? And let's see. See how it actually has another selection right here of the same design. So here I've got my extra set of this, of the dark blue, right? So I've got my extra set of dark blue. Up here, these are movement stitches, right? So it's going from one area to the next to the next. I don't want those movement stitches to be seen. So what I can now do again is I'm going to reselect this little bit. I think you all know, or many of you know, that those little triangles that are around the sides of your boxes like this, the triangles are actually your flips, your mirror images. I don't see a triangle here. Any ideas why there might not be a triangle when I'm zoomed out? That's one of the things. If you sometimes you don't see your triangle, it's because you're zoomed out too far. So notice when I zoomed in, now I have my triangles here. And what I can do is I can move this down so they're touching. And when I zoom to fit, yep, Denny, great, zoom to fit, that, or zoom in is what allows me to see those. Now I've got this where I want it to be. Now guys, what I want you to see this because this is where stitch editing is maybe a little bit different. When I come out of this area, my design comes together, okay? It comes together and it is one design. And that's okay in this case, but I just want you to remember that it's going to be one design, because when I come into, and I'm going to run out of time for this, look at this look at this right here. Those are those movement stitches. We do not want those on top, right? We want those underneath the light blue. We want those underneath the light blue. So it's not going to be a problem. I'm going to go back to modify. Check this out. There is that light blue. This is another little trick, okay? And this is another little trick here that I'm going to show you. That's Karen, you're right. You're exactly right. You could reorder the colors, except the only trick is with reordering the colors is it almost has to be, well, no, I take that back. Let's see here. You're right. You could certainly do that. You could actually move that color up. So Karen, you were right on top of things. I do that. I actually was going to do it a different way, much harder. But you can move the color up. So I'm going to move the color up. So I'm back in modify. I've chosen this color. I'm going to move the color up. And now when we go back to home, those movement stitches are underneath, which is really, really wonderful. It's really great. So the last thing I'm going to leave you with here, let's see how this is going to stitch. So it's going to stitch all of these, right? And I slowed us down just a little bit. Did you notice that it stitched the blue from left to right? Let's speed this up here, excuse me. But now it started again and it's going left to right. Y'all see that? What I want it to do is, instead of having that long jump stitch, I want it to stitch left to right. Then I want it to go up and stitch right to left. So Karen, you're on top of things today. Karen is saying flip it, and guess what? We are going to flip it. We're going to come back to modify. We're going to choose this little top area, and we're going to select everything visible. Zoom in again. And guess what? We're now going to flip that little piece. Because now when I come back to home, it's going to stitch in the order that I want it to stitch. Okay, so let's go quickly. And there you can see it actually is stitching in the proper order. All right. So everyone, I hope, and then you can combine them after moving up if you choose. I mean, it really is up to you. We used to have to think so much about combining colors and combining stitches and doing different things like that. I personally, I don't combine as much today, just because that gives me more options in, you know, if I want to make adjustments or if I want to change stuff around or do anything like that. So anyway, it's just kind of, again, personal opinions. If I know some people that combine everything, and I've just gotten out of the habit because the program kind of does that for me. Marilyn asked about movement stitches, travel stitches. I really don't know, Marilyn, what the manual actually calls them. I think travel or movement, either one is just fine. I mean, it's just when the machine is moving, or, you know, the jump stitch as well. It is I would have to look that up. So we may have to look that one up too. So any other questions for me, guys? I hope this was informative today, talking a little bit again about isolating different things, using those the slider bars to get things in the proper place, colors, flipping. If you know, some people don't care about having long jump stitches. I have been doing, I like shorter jump stitches as far as like that movement or travel that we talked about that we flipped. So anyway, I think again, a lot of stuff, a lot of things going on today that hopefully gave you some nice information as you expand what you're doing. And again, don't forget that if you don't have, or if you haven't tried the mySewnet software yet, remember that is there for you. It is in that pinned comment. Now remember, tomorrow, everyone, if you're coming tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit about, like, you've got the Express Design Wizard, but why would you want to digitize? What's the difference between that? And I'm going to go through a little bit of things like that, how you can learn a little bit more. But everyone, please remember tomorrow. Okay, so remember tomorrow, our class starts at 12:30 Central Daylight Time. So 12:30 Central Daylight Time. We had to shift this one a little bit. So again, please make sure it's a different time. So that, I think, is really, again, super important that you'll have that. This will be on Facebook. It is, and, Robin, you asked for how long. I don't know that we've ever taken them down, but it also goes up on YouTube as well. So if you want to rewatch this or watch yesterday's, if you weren't able to see it yesterday, please go ahead. Realize it is on there, and it was just confirmed to me that they don't go down. So this will be here for quite some time. So, and yes, tomorrow's will be available. Again, we record them, put them up on YouTube, and as well as on Facebook. So again, everyone, thank you so much for your time today. We'll be talking again tomorrow. I hope I get to see all of you tomorrow. And thank you again so much for all of your questions. I appreciate it. And tomorrow is a little bit more, just beyond a little bit about digitizing. So thanks again. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.